All right, we are live for a little RTD live talk, late night YouTube talk show. My name is Mike, the host. Excited to be back for another live stream. Wanted to check in and share a couple interesting articles I came across earlier today, and I saved them for this evening to get a chance to dive a little deeper into them as well as get your thoughts as to what's going on. So, that being the case, want to just find out what else is going on. So, I will thumb through some articles and then give you guys a chance to share what's on your mind. So before I dive any further, let's see who's checking in. Feel free to let me know where you're watching from. If we have any new guests, feel free, or any new viewers or subscribers to the channel, feel free to let me know where you're watching from, and I would love to acknowledge your presence. So, as always, looking to just get an idea as to what's going on around the country, or for that matter, if we have any viewers from overseas, definitely let me know where you're watching from and what's happening in your neck of the woods, because I think we can do a lot of good by sharing and trying to help inform everybody accordingly to what's going on. So we got, I think that's Feet of the X, if I'm not pronouncing that incorrectly rather. It says we're live. We got Shirley from New Jersey. We got California. We got Minnesota. Stella from Minnesota. We got Spirit King in the building. And so excited to be back for another live stream. And last night went closer to that hour point, so trying to reel it in a little bit. So I'm going to rant less and give you guys a chance to call in a few moments. So we got David from Quebec, Ravi from California. Okay, so good amount of people here scattered across the country. So as always, anything worthy of mentioning based upon what you're seeing, and if you want to share with the community in regards to what's going on, feel free to do so. Then we got Barlack Broker says happy B-Day Tupac. So all right, man, appreciate that. We got Greg from Wisconsin. Okay, so a couple of things I want to share with you based upon just some mainstream headlines. And it's one of those things where by the time it hit mainstream news, it's already old news, but I think it's good to be able to share these stories as they unfold so people can stay in tune to what's going on, because as I always mentioned, there's more things to cover than one person could in the evening. So that's why I appreciate you guys for chiming in. So let me get to the very first one. So article here caught my attention, and it has to do with a researcher who predicted that in 2020 that we will be faced with a lot of social unrest. And so when he predicted this over, I think it was about a decade ago, and he's done so over the last couple of years, people, looked at him like he was crazy. And so apart from just thumbing through this, I'll put this in the chat if anybody has interest and diving in further. But it talks about a decade ago, he predicted that 2020 will be a complete mess. Now he says things could get even worse. And so it's a interesting article, and I'll just get right to the nuts and bolts of it as to why he feels that things could get a lot worse. And it has to do with, I'll start right here. It says, we are rapidly approaching a historical cusp at which the U.S. will be particularly vulnerable to violent upheaval, he wrote. And he is referring to Peter Turchin, a 63-year-old researcher at the University of Connecticut. And so he first wrote about this, as it says, way back in 2010. So 10 years ago, he said that 2020 was going to be that year. And then it says here, if we understand the causes, we have a chance to prevent it from happening. But the first thing we'll have to do is to reverse the trend of ever-growing inequality. And so, and that's pretty much all there to the article. But yet, the word inequality. And so that's something that has become a mainstream buzzword these days, whether it be racial, financial, you name it. Inequality, the gap between those that have and those that do not have. And I think definitely this decade, based upon the response of the government running ever increasing deficits, which will be a problem, and then also with the Federal Reserve committed to making sure they prop up to the monetary system, the banking sector, you name it, to buy some time, it will only widen that gap between those that have and those that don't, as well as the continuous political warfare going on between the left and the right paradigm. And so that right there we'll call inequality, which he says, according to his research based upon history, events that we're going to experience, as it says here, he says he warned that the worst may be yet to come, and a societal crisis can typically last for 5 to 15 years. And so for whatever it's worth. We got a researcher who's deciding to share this. And of course, Market Watch is jumping on this, and they want to definitely keep everybody on edge and in the defensive. So take it for what it's worth, but yet inequality of all kinds will be the reason why he says it's going to get a lot worse. So I thought I would share that with you guys real quick. And then also, before I move any further, let me check in and see who else is tuning in. As always, any new viewers, let me know where you're watching from. A couple articles I'm going to share. And then I also want to open up the phone lines to find out what's happening in your world. We got Silo says opinions on bullion versus collectible coins. Great question. And so I've never really established a clear, distinctive approach towards your accumulation of weight. And so, of course, Lynette Zhang mentions the importance of having U.S. minted coins as well as numismatics because of concerns over the government confiscating. But yet my personal opinion, based upon where I believe things might end up in the next 10 years from a financial standpoint, weight of any kind will preserve and protect somewhat on the surface as a result of all the deficits and the destruction of the currency that the Federal Reserve is going to do. So, of course, people have different opinions, can go deeper into it. My motto is just get your weight up any way you can. And so that's kind of where I stand on that. I like my Silver Eagles, definitely. And I like my handmade rounds just because, I also have my own RTD rounds. So definitely, I'm a user of my own product. So great question there. Let me know your thoughts on that. It says, JR says, love the content. Appreciate it, my friend. We got John the 10th man from San Antonio, Ethan G from Wisconsin. Greetings and blessings, brother. How you doing, my friend? Weight and guns and ammo too, of course. And so I'll, definitely, spending more time, not more time, but intend on spending more time at the shooting range, working on my accuracy a little bit and, getting my lead up as well. So I think it all goes in hand. And so it says, until we get rid of this government or the people in it, at all of them and the Fed, we are spinning our wheels and jeopardizing our future. Dems and Repubs are the only two groups to blame. Yeah, that's the two-tier, problem, solution, reaction type of, suggestions, problems that we're up against. And it's one of those things where I beat my head against the wall trying to figure out the actual approach. And so, of course, right now, because everything going on, people are talking about we need reform. And so we got President Trump today signing the law enforcement reform, whichever that encompasses, not quite sure. Then we need political reform, which we'll never truly get because they're not going to, hinder their growth and hinder their whatever they do to ruin our lives and our future. So I don't depend on much happening there. Then, of course, monetary reform. So there's so much reform needed based upon the time lane we have before things go belly up. Not sure how we're going to accomplish that. So it's always been one of those things of, do the best you can according to the information you have. And then also, just educate people and hope other people do the same and pray for the best ultimately. So we got Guy 265, Hola, God, water, food, gun, gold, and silver. Good stuff, man. All right. So very first article, as I mentioned, for those that might have came in late, talks about inequality being the driving force behind what is coming. And so I'll put this, I'll share this with you guys in the chat if you want to, find out more for yourself. And then I'll go to the next article. And so eviction apocalypse, just those two words really caught my attention earlier because we all know that over the last 90 days, pretty much across the country, from what's happening at the federal level, down to the states, they've all passed some type of moratorium where giving those that have been impacted through job loss, as well as all types of the side effects of this current pandemic we're experiencing and the lockdown, they've tried to buy some time. But yet, as we're witnessing, things are looking to open up again. And landlords, there's a lot of individuals out there that are expecting to be compensated due to the daisy chain of things they need to do to take care of themselves, as well as to keep themselves above water, as we see these individuals here. And so it's a very interesting article here that talks about the current within the next month, especially after the end of July, unless there's something done between that left-right paradigm on furthering assistance with providing people with opportunities to make their payments, make their bills, due to the fact of a lack of savings. We all knew about that well before now, as well as the fact the majority of the jobs will not be back. And if they are coming, and if they do come back, they're not going to be as the hours may not be as plentiful as people will need to make their bills and whatnot. So talking about the fact that homeless shelters are not prepared for what's coming and currently what's going on now. So they just throw a lot of stats out there as to how things stand to get worse based upon the Republicans primarily not wanting to extend that extra stimulus for the unemployed. So expecting definitely some type of cataclysmic event at the end of July head into August, where there's going to be a lot of heartache on both sides of the renters as well as those that own the real estate itself. So more information there in detail if you guys are interested. I'll put that in the chat. And then I got just two more articles here. I'm going to thumb through them briefly, then open up the phone lines, and then we can go back and forth a little bit. And I'd love to hear what you guys have on your mind. And so the next article here, it says, Star Investing. So, of course, this is CNN business, and all these are very doom and gloom in nature because that's what they're trying to do. But yet it's stuff that people should know about because it's already happening more than likely. It says markets may crash so badly, the Fed has to start buying stocks. And so we know just as of this Monday, they expanded their asset purchases, trying to control the price discovery of the troubled corporations, you name it. And so when I saw this, I wasn't surprised because we've been talking about this for some time now, as how the Fed will definitely have to get in on anything that is labeled a financial asset that the world has been instructed to purchase for the long haul as an investment tool. They're going to have to definitely prop it up. So it gives more information here. But once again, are you surprised? I'm sure you're not. So if anybody's interested, I'll share this in the chat. And then, of course, you can go back and read more for yourself. And so very last article here, and then I'll stop ranting and we can get to some back and forth as well as find out what else is going on. But once again, another subject matter. This is from the follow-up to the article done last week by Stephen Roach. It says a dollar crash is virtually inevitable. And of course, you know, the whole rethinking the dollar concept was based upon the fact that all fiat currencies have a timeline to themselves. And based upon the response of what's going on now on the surface, they're saying it's the pandemic and the great lockdown as the primary driving forces to, you know, what's going on with all these unprecedented policies. But before that, we know it was a debt issue that sprung a leak officially back in September. And ever since then, the hole has been getting bigger as the losses pile up. And of course, everything is designed to bail out the financial institutions with the disguise of making sure people can get paychecks, making sure corporations can meet their obligations and all that stuff like that. So it's a short little interview here, but basically talks about the fact that with governments running deficits like the way they are, it will only get bigger. And the Federal Reserve is encouraging the government to spend more in order to help lessen their need for monetary policy. So Uncle Sam will run further debts. Even President Trump, I saw that there's some of the Republican parties coming out saying that he's spending or promising to spend too much, which is becoming a problem. We need to slow this thing down and pause on all the spending. But yet, once again, if you stop, you got issues, so you got to keep going. So long story short, it says his forecast calls for a 35% drop against other major currencies. And so ultimately the G7, G20 currencies are the, or G7 rather, those that are in that SDR basket are the primary currencies that really truly matter on the surface. But he's saying that a 35% drop against them. So basically a heavy devaluation. Therefore, basically, as he's saying, is that's reflected in the price of everything going up, substantially. So just a little bit of information out there from the mainstream media. And of course, all four stories coming from the mainstream media are designed to scare you, but it's also what's going on out there that your financial advisor more than likely will not be telling you. So, but anyway, that's enough of me ranting, man. Let's get to some phone calls. I want to hear from you guys and let's talk. So let me get back into the chat. I've done my ranting for this evening. Wanted to bring a couple stories to you and we go from there. So got a lot of looks like some questions up here. Okay, so it says, aren't you trying to make one? It says, what does black on black homicide have to do with being killed by the state? Why conflict the two? Ever wonder why the media never discuss white on white homicide? Goldie. The mainstream media or the media itself only would talk about things as relevant for the season that they want to put us in when it comes to the division that they look to accomplish with what's going on, whether it be in a political front or as a distraction from an ailing economy. So the actual colors of how they try to tell us what's what, it's all based upon what they want us to see to distract us off that. So I personally, I don't get too deep into all that stuff because white kills white, black kill white is just a part of just, the sin nature of man. It's unfortunate that we as a people, for whatever reason, have that. It's in some people, man, to just do some things that I couldn't imagine. And that's just what it is. So the media wants to definitely keep your attention focused on that, distracted from the fact that one of the primary things people should be concerned with is their financial futures that's being destroyed right now in front of them. So just my 2 cents there. Guy 265, appreciate the love offering. It says, hello from Hawaii. I'm a Democrat. 90% of the people are still asleep. 100%, my friend. And so once again, left, right, Democrat, Republican, we're all in the same boat, heading in the same direction, downhill. Hello, caller. Where you calling from?
What's going on? It's Miles from New York.
Miles from New York, my friend. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
I'm good. Hey, man, I finally put a little bit of the pieces together. I want to get your take on it.
All right, please do.
I've been reading the articles and looking at it, man, and I think that we're already entered into World War III. Now, I know it may sound funny, but you got to look at the what's going on between China and India up there. They're already killing each other and fighting, and we've already stepped in.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at some of the articles, they say that they have Navy boats out going up against China, but they're keeping this real quiet right now. And I think this is going to be their out for when everything does collapse. They need to roll us over.
Yeah. And
all of that riots and unrest and all that stuff, they're going to put the focus now on World War III, because we have an agreement with India set up, and they're saying that China is, they're kind of salty about that. They're already breaking away from us. Right now, I think that with the everything escalating up there, and some of them being killed back and forth allegedly, that we're going to step in full force, and they're going to start sending us out there to go do that dirty work, man, and get their minds off of the depression that they created, man. I just wanted to get your take on that, and also I was looking at it, and as far as President Trump saying that for infrastructure, he's doing a new stimulus for infrastructure. That's not for infrastructure. That's just what they call it, in my personal opinion. They're just doing buyback and all the rest of that stuff, and they needed something real light and nice, so the people won't be like, okay, why are you spending all this money while we're starving to death?
Right.
But yeah, definitely, I think we're going into World War III, man. I think we're already there, and we're just at the initial stages of it,
Yeah.
But I love to hear your tip on it, man. You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Appreciate it, my friend. I'll definitely touch on that off air. Appreciate you calling in. So great thoughts there. And of course, we're already in World War III. And at this point, I'd be willing to say nothing is too far-fetched. Nothing is too over the cliff to where we can't somehow squeeze in a chain of events into any type of situation that will be painted as a worst-case scenario, just because right now we're up against some things that we could have never imagined before. So the fact that it says here on Tuesday, which is today, 20 of its soldiers have been killed in clashes. So India's army said on Tuesday 20, whether or not it's true or not, who knows, but the India and China clash has been going on for quite some time now. I want to say they've been disputing over some territory at the Himalayan border for some time now, and it hasn't gotten better. So could that be a breaking point that could lead the U.S. to come to the defense of India? Given the fact that the U.S. always has beef with China, and of course President Trump says that, I'm good friends with Prime Minister Modi, and I'm also good friends with Xi. But then on top of that, next week, Xi is not his friend. So of course, all that stuff. So long story short, I wouldn't put it past these type of stuff here. This definitely is major news for those in that region. And what better way to make it a full-blown world situation other than the U.S. getting involved as we got to go help an ally. So definitely it's possible. And I don't think Trump would be willingly wanting to drag the U.S. into that right now, given the fact he's concerned primarily about his second term. And so until he gets that second term, I think it'll be very hard to be dragged into a world war when he's talking about bringing back troops from, I think they're talking about Iraq's pulling out. They got the little situation with the ICC, with the international courts over in Afghanistan, but other than that, he's still trying to bring troops home, slowly but surely. And I think he's brought in home more than the mainstream media would like to tell us, as a part of the restructuring for the next world order, which has the U.S. probably not leading the way, more than likely. So great call, great thoughts there, my friend. But definitely something that is, it is possible, man. Anything is possible at this point. Barlight Broker, it says, get that thing for your neck, Mike. Happy B-Day, Pac. I appreciate that, my friend. The love offering for that gold rope. And definitely gonna be mighty surprised when I come out one day wearing me a piece of metal around the neck. So definitely. All right. What else we got here? It says South Korea moving their Navy in response to North Korea movements. War could happen anytime. Very true. I saw that. I think it was North Korea blew up or something like that. A building within North Korea where South Korea and North Korea usually have their meetings whenever they get together, discuss whatever. So not sure what that's all about, but just something from the headlines. Let me see here. It says S400 said, I'll put 1,000 that China wins. And see, that's the thing. Like, I don't, and that would be a very, definitely China. To me, I believe they have the technology to, along with Russia, they have some stuff. They're sitting on some stuff that we, don't have, I would imagine. So it wouldn't be much of a long war if it came down to India. But then again, that's when the U.S. would have to step in as an ally, more than likely to help out. And at that point, once again, I don't think, our technology is up to snuff to really make it a shooting war. So, but anyway, that's just my 2 cents there, man. What else we got going on? Feel free to give me a call. Let's talk. What else is going on out there? Anything you guys are noticing in regards to the. So, okay, let me tell you about something. What was it earlier today on Twitter? So on the RTD Twitter account, I follow all types of subject matter in regards to what's going on in Brazil. And so the numbers coming out of Brazil, I think I saw something today about high six figures of cases within Brazil. And then in some city or something like that, it was a clip all in Portuguese, so I really couldn't understand it. But the translation was that some of the politicians in that district decided to actually go into the hospital. And of course, the hospital was closed off. They had security in front saying that, due to the outbreak, they apparently had 5,000. They were at full capacity within the hospital. They had, already seen 5,000 and the death count was high, and just, completely blowing up the mainstream media in Brazil, trying to scare the hell out of everybody. And so it looks like some politicians went down with a cell phone and they just bust through the front door, told the security to move. And of course you got, political figures that, were able to do so. They walked into the hospital. The boy was dry. Wasn't nothing there. People were wearing masks, but they were guarding empty beds. And so I'm thinking like, wow, and that boy, it was shared, 100,000 times. So, assuming the Portuguese translation was accurate, it was a hospital in Brazil that was empty, but yet Brazil, that district received, buku amounts of funds as a part of that whole hoax there. So just go to show Brazil numbers and everywhere else is not panned out to be what it's supposed to be. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Yes, hi there. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Doing good.
From the chat room.
Yes, sir. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
Well, I've been listening. I haven't been chatting much. I realize Google likes to prevent a lot of my words from coming out, so I just don't even bother anymore. I prefer to listen now.
All right, good deal.
But the conversation leading to World War III,
Yeah.
I had to call in for this because first, I've heard several prophecies. One about the U.S. being invaded through Mexico, from the nations that is currently, let's say, hassling from Venezuela to Cuba. Anybody that has that economic issue, where they what's the thing called the sanctions?
Yeah,
they have sanctions on them.
Yes,
in South America. Okay, they were supposed to invade. One prophecy stated that an army of 200 million was supposed to try to swarm the earth and pretty much do what Germany did, right?
Yeah.
Now, currently, with the corona thing, you have China that's has become way more xenophobic. Kind of what on the level of what I've been taught in school that Germany was on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my question is, in World War II, wasn't Pearl Harbor the trigger for the U.S. getting into World War II?
Yeah, that's what we're told. Yes. Yep.
Okay, and everything was happening around it, and they were trying to avoid getting involved into the war back then, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like it's rhyming right now.
Good point. Good point. So
actually, I have an even bigger point to make, because right now you have a newer generation of young people. I want to specifically reference people of color, black people, young black men and women. With the current experience that people are feeling, how many of them do you think they're going to actually get to join the army if a world war takes place? Because you do realize that's what helped the U.S. to win, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what's going to happen this time?
So basically, especially bringing all the troops home, there definitely might be a shortage of personnel to actually go to a war. So can you say a hot war? They're going to end up having to send some hot things in the air, or if not, God forbid, anything, on the nuclear side of things, if it gets to that point, which I hope it doesn't.
I'm sorry to say it probably will. And it probably won't start with us. It'll probably start with China and India. Yeah. But it will come. It will come over here to us.
Yeah. Man. So once again, anything is on the table at this point, and especially if that left-right paradigm is still trying to present the illusion of them them being opposed to each other with the left-right and Trump, no more Trump, and so if that is the case,
the world is watching it.
Yeah. And so the question is,
they can see the weakness.
Yeah. Good point, man. Yeah, man. And that stuff that, it's a possibility. God forbid it does happen, but it's real talk, man. So why not touch on it, man? So I appreciate you calling in and sharing that, my friend.
I appreciate you, Mike. I'm still watching, man. Just bear that in mind. I'm still watching. I may not be chatting, but I'm watching.
Good deal. Appreciate you.
Take care, man. Have a good one.
Yeah,
Thanks.
you too. Oh man, yeah, just that stuff is deep, man. But someone in the chat referenced about that clip. So here's the clip I'm referring to here. And so as of 7 hours ago, it says members of Parliament of Brazil break into a hospital that claimed to have 5,000 infected and 200 deaths for this current situation. It says caught them red-handed. Not one person. They have defrauded the world. So here's one of the political guys that went in there, and of course he's speaking Portuguese. So I'll put this. Let me see if I can embed this. Let me see. I can click on this, and if anybody out there, speak Portuguese, you want to translate it and share it with the group, feel free to do so. But here is that Twitter link here, if anybody wants to go and listen to that little short clip. But that was something based upon the information coming out of Brazil. But so apart from, of course, Middle East was hot, or China to Italy, U.S. Now it's going down well below the equator, and Brazil looks like it's hit the most. So I wonder on the let's think conspiracy type stuff. If I had to put this tinfoil hat on, which I don't put it on too often, but when I put this on, I go far left field. So thinking about this, Brazil. Why is their situation so extreme as far as those numbers there? It's one of those things where knowing that Trump and their president supposed to be buddy, and he was brought in as being one of those, disruptive, remove some of the, powers that be type of narrative. So, could that be the case? Who knows? But, whenever there's a country with extreme cases, there's more to the story underneath that we are not being told. So leads us to wonder why Brazil. And even Argentina's bad, but not as bad. And Chile's, but Brazil for some reason seemed to be a hot spot with the numbers. And we all know what the lies in that. But anyway, feel free to give me a call. Let's talk a little bit more. I'm going to be on for a couple more minutes. They're going to dial back, and let me check in via chat. The mark using lasers from space. You need to see the zigzag. Okay, so we're talking about some space stuff here. Zechariah 14:2 for I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle, and the city shall be taken. Yeah, man, and I think that's definitely some end times stuff right there. So, like I mentioned last night, of course, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I think we got some time before that comes. Says they found a V word for AIDS today. They have been trying to kill for 30 years. Really? Okay, I didn't hear about that one. So yeah, I don't think the desire is ever to find a cure for AIDS or any other true. I can't use the word, but when I use a V. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello.
All right, do me a favor. Can you speak up a little bit? It's a little low on my end.
Hello, this is S4.
All right, my friend. How you doing? What's on your mind tonight?
Actually, I saw this news documentary. It was about like this traumatologist, the doctor, or whatever, and basically like he explained like what he did in his field. It was aside from being a doctor, he was he basically explored the whole UFO phenomenon that's going on with the government, and he said that there's levels that the president doesn't have access or classification to the projects that the president, that the government doesn't have access to. And then when we were talking about World War III, I kind of felt, because he said that since 1954, scientists, physicists, they've all figured out how quote-unquote UFOs and all of that type of technology actually works.
Mm-hmm.
And we're trying to figure out, which I know there's a lot of information, but I don't know how much time we have, but they're trying to figure out how all of that works.
Mm-hmm.
And so for World War III, I feel like they're going to bring out, we're afraid of nuclear war. We're afraid of, that's what that's what we have to think. The weapons that they probably are working on now will probably dwarf the nuclear bomb. In fact, the nuclear bomb probably doesn't even come close to the devastation that they're actually, the technology that they have.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, this is what it's coming to. But I just feel like with that technology, we could do much more with it. And so, like, this is what we should be trying, because, like, in this system, the other caller called earlier, talking about the younger generation. Well, I'm a black man. I'm part of the younger generation.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the political system is a farce. Like, there's no point in voting. There's no point unless you're going to start a business and fund and lobby all these politicians, and you're going to lobby to basically get what you want. There's no point. And even Thomas Jefferson said, if you don't have a revolution within the United States, like every 2 years or so, then the politicians won't hear the people, and so therefore the politicians lose respect of the people, and then therefore they become dictators of the people.
Well, hey, my man, I listen. It's choppy on my end, so I'm hearing you, but you're going in and out on my end. So let me. I appreciate you calling in, and let me get to another call. But thank you for calling in, my friend, because it's kind of choppy, so it's going in and out. I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for calling in, though. Yeah, so I got a little bit of some of that, and so hopefully you guys did as well. Let me get to a couple more calls here. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's low blood pressure. Corpus Christi. How you doing?
Corpus Christi in the building. I'm doing good, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Nah, man. Just trying to put my son to sleep. Hey, I want to change it up a little, man.
Okay.
When you gonna go to vacation, and where are you gonna go? Where are you thinking about going on vacation if you are?
Well, right now, I'm not going anywhere. But of course, I enjoy being able to leave the country. But I don't think that's happening no time soon. So I might just go, about a mile away. So that's my vacation. Why? Where you going? You going on one?
I'm thinking about it. I want to go to I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called the Frio River. It's a Concan in Texas.
I have not.
It's called Garner State Park. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It's a spring-fed river, and you can float down in tubes and splash, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. How far is that from you?
It's about 2.5 hours. It's not too far.
Yeah. Yeah, I was actually thinking about going to the UP, which is the extreme north of Michigan. Yeah. I've never gone up there, even though I hear about it, but just never care to go up north. So that might be the closest I'll get to going to a foreign land, because I've never been. So, but that's about 7-8 hours for me. So, yeah, but we'll see.
What they got up there, like cabins and stuff?
Yeah, it's just from what I heard, it's basically just a lot of farmland, and just it's real pretty up there, like a lot of open space.
Mm-hmm.
getting away from the city life. And of course, they got vineyards and stuff like that. So I heard the summertime is, some good scenery up there. So.
Yeah, you got to do it, Mike, man. This the end of the world is driving me crazy, you know? It's like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? And you know what I mean? We need to relax.
We'll do, man. But hey, man, appreciate you calling, boss, man.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks.
Yeah, you too. Be good. Yeah, man, good stuff. So let me see. Check in via chat. Let me know what's going on here. It says Nelson Brand says, when rent, utilities, car loans, and rent moratoriums end next month, along with unemployment benefits and stimulus checks, true civil unrest begins. Let us work, let us save, and Meadows, God bless. 100%. Nelson, good point, man. So when I start off tonight, I'll start off by sharing some articles that pretty much point to. So here's one of the articles I shared earlier about social unrest being a 5 to 10 year thing, according to the a researcher who predicted that we will be at this point right now in 2020, and it's playing out exactly as he mentioned. And he said the worst is yet to come due to inequality on many fronts. And then the next article I shared was about this eviction apocalypse and all the things you referenced there, as far as how when July ends, all hell breaks loose in August. So we will see. So clearly, President Trump and his staff has to realize that there can really be no true consumer-led recovery unless they continue to provide some liquidity for the unemployed. And because there's been more than enough articles now talking about a lot of the jobs in the restaurants, they will not be reopening. And it's good to say majority of the small businesses will not be participating in that Main Street lending facility, because it's not actually designed for them. So they're going to pretty much probably go under. Therefore, we're going to have a lot less opportunities for people to get into the employment sector according to what they were used to, according to what their skill is. So just something to think about there. Britt VER says the next stimulus check is coming soon. I would imagine it probably will, because President Trump has no real chance of getting of retaining the amount of voters that he currently has, whether they're real or not, unless he is able to help out those that are in need in their pockets. And so, believe me, the Democrats will make it a campaign push by Biden to roll out some universal basic income this year. And so you got Trump on one end, and you got Biden saying that everybody deserves X amount of dollars per month starting, now. Where do you think people are going to go? Who do you think people are going to vote for? People can care less about disruption, drain the swamp, all that stuff, infrastructure spending, making America great again, if their pockets is dry and they don't have a roof over their head or food, and the Federal Reserve going to crank up inflation like we've never seen before. So, all Joe Biden has to do is just make a lot of promises like he's going to do anyway. And Trump has to get on board with coming out with something to meet whatever is going to be coming halfway. And so Mark W. Yeah. So, definitely greater social unrest is ahead as the eviction apocalypse and the stimulus unemployment checks dry up. There's going to be some issues. Let me see. It says next stimulus is being distributed through blockchain. I don't doubt it. Problem is, as of right now, they appear to be still trying to work that stuff out. And so it'll be very surprising if the Fed was literally by September, October, all of a sudden they had a payment mechanism to get stimulus out right away. So they're definitely going to be trying to rush some things because they've hired all types of blockchain people in the Treasury. And of course, the Federal Reserve, is on board with that as well. So I don't doubt it. But that's all a part of the original game plan that was in place well before this current great lockdown that we're, as they call it. It says, do you think the Fed is buying corporate bonds? I don't think so. I started off earlier mentioning that we're being told that they have a window of lending opportunity that's available for those that feel that they need it. So I read through a playbook as to what the grade of bonds they're looking to purchase and the amount of leverage. And so they're looking to make sure that there's stability for the indebted companies, good and bad. So I don't doubt that they will be able to purchase them. And eventually, as the article I mentioned earlier talks about as things really get bad, expect the feds to actually end up buying stocks directly. So they will be willing to buy anything to keep this thing from going under. So whether they're doing it now, they've made it clear that they're willing to do it. So I'm sure they'll live up to their promise of doing it. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, it's Pay Me Money Back from Killeen, Texas.
Yes, sir. How you doing, my man? What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, I just wanted to put some knowledge on people's brains, the ones that's getting the unemployment money.
Okay.
Like, I want to break something down to the people.
Go ahead.
You got two types of people that's getting the unemployment. Or I'm just speaking about the unemployment part, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a job and you didn't get fired, it's like because of the COVID, we're not gonna work here, so y'all can go home and
mm-hmm.
y'all can like document your hours, and then you file your unemployment and they pay you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's one style of person. All right. Now, that style of that group of people, they don't have to look for a job. They are not considered unemployed. Okay. Now you have the people who had a job who literally got fired and they have to look for a job, but they're claiming the unemployment. Mm-hmm. Now, this group of people, they have to do job searches because how they look at it on the books is if you're not looking for a job and you're getting the money, then you're not listed as unemployment. Unemployment is only people who are actually searching for a job. Hmm. If you're not searching, you're not unemployed. You're just not looking for a job.
Yeah. Okay.
So people got to be very, very careful about when they're getting this money. The ones who are literally detached from a job mm-hmm. and they filed it. So they got to make sure that when they're doing their paperwork, look, you're going to looking for these jobs because it's going to come back in the whole big bubble and start to bite some of those people in the butt.
Good point, man. Hey, I appreciate you putting us on game. Way to break it down in greater detail, my friend. Thanks for sharing that with us.
No problem. You have a good one.
Yeah, be good. Thanks. Yeah, that's interesting, man. Definitely something to consider there. And so and also factor in that the PPP for those companies that decided to take out or to get that grant. And so if they're still meeting their payroll, so you got, I saw an article, didn't dive into it, but you got people still on the payroll getting some stuff from their employers on top of the fact that, as you mentioned, that based upon, I guess, what you fill out, you can say that you're working, but you're not working. So you're getting that double whammy there. So, so here's one of my things that I think about, like, definitely by next year, tax time. I would imagine the environment we're going to be in is going to be a lot worse than what it is now. And so the IRS will probably be stretched thin to the point where, I can see next year being a scramble to where things are so chaotic to where just the very idea of filing taxes is problematic because there's either not enough people on hand, or between now and then, depending on who's in office, they may say, because things are getting worse, according to the way they would like to see it, they end up saying, you get a year off, no taxes, or something like that, to where I think just the very concepts of income taxes and having to file, all that's going to be something that's going to be dealt with pretty soon, because you got major unemployment. They're giving people grant stimulus that's not labeled as income, but then you got unemployment. So yeah, it's going to unwind in a very dangerous way. So, but yeah, I see somebody else says silver and gold will be good for a time, but will eventually be thrown in the streets. Yeah, and I think when we get to that point there, when we get to the point where gold and silver is thrown in the streets, then those for sure in times where there will be no confidence in anything because of the amount of terror on the streets, as well as probably the unleashing of the 7 vials on the earth. So yeah, that's when that time gets here. Yeah, I feel you 100%. But yet between now and then, for a protection against the destruction of our currency, there's still value in it. And it says FEMA dark winter of pain happens in falls. This new simulation combines hoax, racial food shortages, to stack food, water, grow food, candles, lumber. Nelson Brand. Appreciate you, my man. That says Natural Mama says, Mike, we need you to start developing your platform to run for presidency. Presidency, that position is something that I don't think any man should willingly want to pursue that, because in order to do so, you got to be a man of real integrity, which means that everything we've seen up to this point, you've had to compromise to get there because you have to lie. Like, it's a part of the job description. You cannot tell the truth. And that's where, I would not want to even be a part of that. So, yeah, man. But politics definitely is something that they say if you want, be the change you want to see in the world. So I'm like, definitely on the local side of things, I definitely see myself getting involved in more involved in events around me to start. So, but yeah, that's what it is, man. So anyway, let's get ready to dial back. As always, it's been fun to connect. Got a lot of great calls tonight. I appreciate those that tuned in. And so, as always, for those that have enjoyed the back and forth, don't be afraid to donate. A thumbs up. Just click that button beneath here, hit thumbs up, and go from there. And I also want to make sure those, if you're not familiar, visit the rethinkingthedollar.com website. Got all of the little resources I have there, as well as the opportunity to get your weight up with the RTD coin, all my past interviews, as well as we got a chat room over there. So definitely rethinkingthedollar.com. Check with us there. We'd love to connect with you. Other than that, everybody, it's been great. See you tomorrow night. I got a couple interviews lined up this week. Hopefully everything turns out all right, but it's just some good guests you definitely guys will want to hear from. So other than that, be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys tomorrow, Lord willing. Peace.